Avowed. Adam. Are you excited? This feels like an Adam game.
Uh, I am going to say it's got a cool setting to it, and there's a lot of things like, and it was announced like a few years ago, 3 years ago, and like it just got shown off in the Xbox showcase or something like that, and the devs talked about it. They went into the gameplay a bit. However, there's some things that are really cool about this game, but there's also a lot of things that make it look outdated, to be honest. And we can kind of show that in the trailer right here. It's just a gameplay trailer. Like there's I think a 15-minute talk of like what the game is and things like that. But here's the gameplay trailer.
I did watch that Xbox exclusive deep
Yeah.
dive.
Yep.
Yes,
Me too.
I did
So
watch that. I'm gonna be honest, dude. I honestly like I'm gonna agree with you. There's a lot of things in this game that make it look really, really cool and make it look visually very appealing. But there's
mhm.
also, like you said, a lot of things that kind of make it look outdated.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was done specifically or not. I don't know. Like, I don't know if this was just a game that was, like you said, this game was announced a couple years ago. Like, is this a
Mhm.
game that maybe didn't meet its deadline and is coming out much later than they thought it was going to come out, and they haven't really taken the necessary steps to like update it to where gaming is now? Is my question.
I think it's got like a two thing. I think maybe it is taking a little bit longer, but I also think they're trying to make it feel more artsy and have that kind of feel to it. And it does. It has like that cartoon kind of feel to it. Um and if you're just watching, it's like it's set in a cool setting. Like you're gonna have different elements. Like the world seems really cool. Different characters look really neat, but it doesn't feel complete, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't feel like it's a game that I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's got cool elements, and I don't know.
It
I don't know.
it does have really cool elements. So, guys, if you're just
Yeah,
listening on the Spotify, what we're looking at right now, this is a first-person game,
yeah,
but it's like Adam said, it's set in a very, very cool setting. It's set in like a medieval kind of setting, and you guys know
yeah,
that. Like, I eat that up. They
yeah.
put a knight or something in like some type of like cursed warlock or anything like that, and like I'm about it. So
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot of that right now, and I think the setting looks cool, and I think visually it looks really, really cool. I think they figured
Yeah.
out a really nice way to kind of interact all of this like um, bright, vibrant color with like a
Yeah.
stark contrast of
Yeah.
like the softer tones, and I think just visually the game looks really, really cool. But you're it's giving me vibes of like clunkiness. Is it giving you those
Yeah.
vibes? That's what it's
Yeah.
giving me.
And in that showcase, like we said, it's 15 minutes. In the showcase, it really shows a lot more of the gameplay, and that's kind of what I got from it. It has a clunky feel to it, and a lot of the animations that seem kind of meh. But a little bit about the game, real quick. So it's gonna come out this year. It's made by Obsidian, so that take that with how you want to. It's a fantasy action RPG. Sorry, Dave. Another Xbox slash PC exclusive. That just seems to be our theme recently of talking about games Dave won't probably play because of the PS5 Xbox gap. But it takes place in
It's yeah. So let me jump in and save you. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get an Xbox so that I can start playing all these games. But yeah, basically what we're looking at is it does take place in this kind of medieval type setting, and the basic gist of the game is that you are trying to put a stop to a mysterious spiritual plague that has overtaken the land, and when it comes to like like a gameplay story arc, I mean it's fine. We've talked about that with Last Berserker. I mean it's fine. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's an acceptable storyline. Um, but yeah, other than that, I don't know if this game has like a lot of like depth to it outside of just a very basic storyline.
I don't think it's going to be a Baldur's Gate 3. It's not going to be that kind of level of intimate kind of things and story and things like that. But it's taking place in the Living Lands, which is and like in the world of Eora, which is a fantasy setting from the Pillars from Eternity. Never played it. That's like about all I know about it. And this is actually rumored to be a prequel, actually, to um, so I don't know what that means in terms of like if it's a rumor from Pillars from Eternity or if it's a prequel to another game that's coming up. But yeah, that's kind of the rumor behind it. Essentially, like you're an agent for the Empire in this game, and like Dave said, you're supposed to stop the spiritual plague called the Dream Scourge, I think is what it's called. Um, and it's gonna have like your choices in this game is gonna affect the world in some way, but it will not change the end of the story. I don't know if you saw that. So like you some of these side quests will have effects on the world and like different characters will die in that sense, but it won't affect the ending of the game so much.
I did see
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, and then going into the map a little bit, like changing the world. It's cool that it's not gonna be like an open world, like huge open world. It'll have like an open concept. You'll have like kind of like a Dark Souls in the sense that you can explore different areas, but it's not vast open world. You'll have to complete part of the story to unlock different zones and different things like that. And they say like exploration is a core part of the game, so that's why like that open concept's kind of cool because it's still gonna make you explore. Like in the 15-minute Xbox thing, you could like they show you dive into a cave that you can't really see, like just open. Like you have to like look for it, which is kind of cool. Um, and to me, it's got a Skyrim feel, but just not quite as dark. And I don't know. And originally, I thought like so I watched original trailers and things like this, original trailers, and a lot of people thought this was going to be a darker game than what it's showing. Like the first trailer, it was like dark, but now it's like vibrant and bright.
Yeah, I did see that, and I was because I remember seeing a little bit about this game a while ago, and I was like, "Yo, this game kind of looks sick," and it's like I like that kind of darker feel, and then looking at the new gameplay release trailer, and I was just like, what happened? I feel like they didn't switch court, they didn't do like a full 180, but they definitely veered off the path a little bit and made it a little bit more campier than I thought it was going to be. And you can kind of see that when you look at this gameplay trailer of like, just like the enemies, like even the enemies. I mean, they're supposed to be like gigantic beasts and like skeletons and like cursed, mages and stuff like that. And it's just like, it's kind of like if you put like a skeleton in a Pixar movie. Like it's still a skeleton, but it's just not like scary. You know what I mean?
And I just think that's just the direction they ended up turning the game. Not so much because like maybe they wanted to make it feel completely different from Skyrim because Skyrim was a little bit darker. You know what I mean? Like it's more of a less vibrance to it and stuff like that. So maybe they're like, oh, we don't want it to feel like Skyrim. We want it to feel like its own IP and things like that. So maybe that's why they're taking it into its own direction. But going into a little bit more about like the characters and stuff like that. So there's no classes specifically of the characters. I don't know if you saw that.
I
Um,
did. And they're kind
yeah,
of toting that as like the special thing.
yeah, and it's cool. So like that may like make some fans happy, may make some different. And the way they kind of described it, and like this is the developers is like, yes, there's no classes, but you can tailor it to be like a class, and like, and it's cool like in the sense of like, let's say you don't like that class anymore, you have a way to rework it and to like change it or. You know what I mean? So I think that is cool. Like, so if you really want to have a class feel, like you can make it that way, but you can also have sprinkles of elements of like different things, if that makes sense. Um, Even though there's no class scene, there's like each character you build will have a background. So I don't know.
I mean, I think it's kind of cool, but I think a little bit of I usually I'm a fan of this, but in this game specifically, I feel like they've kind of toted it as like you can switch between spellcasting and melee seamlessly, but in like the extended kind of things that I've seen, um I'm usually a fan of that because I'm not really a huge spellcaster, but just what I've seen so far is I feel like you can switch from spellcasting to melee very easily in this game, but I feel like it's not going to be possible to play this game without spellcasting at all. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm a little worried about cuz like I'm not really a spellcaster. Like I would rather just go in there and hack and slash melee style. And it's fine to be able to do like the spellcasting, but I feel like where most games kind of put the emphasis on melee and then the spell casting is kind of secondary. I feel like this game, on the other hand, is putting the spell casting primary and making the melee more of a secondary option. Like, I'm not super excited that I'm going to most likely have to rely on the spell casting.
I think I don't know if you'll have to rely on it, but it might be more of a challenge to try not to use the spell casting. Like maybe it'll still be possible, but like it's just going to be much harder. Whereas like it's the other way around for other games. Um, and to me, kind of going into what the combat looked like, and I think this is probably where you're going to agree with me. I felt like the combat is what seemed clunky and slow, and like I feel like even with like the melee weapons, it didn't seem like they swung it. It just felt like you're using a styrofoam sword and smacking somebody. Like, it didn't feel like you hit somebody with a sword. Like, you didn't like the enemies. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I felt like the animations were kind of lacking. It's like it didn't feel like it hit hard, if that makes sense.
That's 100% where I was going to go. And that's why I feel like this game gives you a clunky vibe and kind of like maybe an older kind of game vibe. It's like if you go back and look at the gameplay trailer and you look at the specific spots where the enemies were being attacked, you can notice a few things. And number one, I think you can notice that the hitbox, quote unquote, seems to be gigantic for these enemies because there's a couple scenes in the trailer where you see the character swinging the weapon and you visually feel like it doesn't hit, but it's registering a hit. So you can see that they have like a very gigantic hitbox for these enemies. And also there's no like quintessential hit animation. It's like you're swiping your weapon and you can see like the life points like pop up and stuff like that. You can tell that like the hit registered, but there's no visual like animation to let you know that you hit the enemy. Like it just feels like you're swiping at nothing. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm getting at with like the clunkiness and kind of like the old school vibe. It's just eh. I just wish there was more there, you know?
I agree, and like even going into that, like, and this like really doesn't like affect the story or the game itself, but like going into like the voice acting, like I felt like it felt like they were just reading the script, like, "Hi, my name is Charles, the sorcerer. I'm going to kill you." Like, you know what I mean? It didn't feel like they had any like expression to the voices, the animation of the mouth was off, but like that's fine. Like the mouth animation's fine, but like, just have some, like, heart to what you're reading, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like they didn't have any, like, heart to, like, "Hi." It's like, "Okay, cool." Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't bring the energy, and you could feel that like you could feel that across the board. And I don't know, I could be wrong, and I'm sure there's probably people excited about this game, but it just didn't hype me up. You know what I mean? Like a real good trailer like hypes you, like you're hyped. You know what I mean? And it's like you don't even have to be like really excited about the game, but the trailer should still give you some type of intrigue. And just for whatever reason, I just like I watched it again. I'm like, maybe I missed something. Watched it again. And it's like no matter how many times I watched it, I just couldn't like get excited about the game, which is kind of sad.
Right, and I'm kinda there with you. And you know what? We've had this conversation in the past, but to me, it feels like video game, the game. You know what I mean? It's got elements of, like, video games, like so, like, what like, the double wielding, like, you saw, like, when they could double wield the wands, the pistol and the wand, the sword and the wand, like, the pistol and the sword, it's like the shield, it's like and then the animations of all of them, it just doesn't seem to flow together, if that makes sense. It's like, what can we add? I mean, we had this conversation last week. It's like, it's really cool when games are like creative and like can throw all these elements together and make it work. For me, like, I don't think this works. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like it's like, all right, let's make an fantasy action RPG. Smack. Okay, that's cool. All right, let's make it in kind of like a wizard setting, medieval setting. All right, smack. All right, let's add some guns. Let's add some like to me like it doesn't make like it like sure it makes sense, but they didn't put it together like a puzzle. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's not fitting together.
Yeah, and I think you can see that a lot with like I said, I watched the extended gameplay Xbox exclusive, right? And it's like They almost didn't have anything to talk about with the game. I was watching this and I was like waiting for them to kind of be like, here's this new thing, like new groundbreaking thing. And then it's like, I'm just waiting. I'm just constantly waiting for them to give me that moment. And they're like, here, we're going to talk about side quests. And like, oh, if you go on this.
The moral ambiguous side quest that will make you feel like if I'm making the right decision or anything like that. Okay, cool. Like that's cool. And like, but it's like, I don't know.
They were like, yeah, if you go on this side quest and you can pick, oh, do you want to give them the thing? Or if you don't want to give them the thing. And then when you go back to the town, you can see the repercussions of your actions. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's a side quest. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why are we featuring a freaking side quest on your
Yeah.
like Xbox exclusive? Like, you got where's the epic boss battle? Where is like
Yeah.
the gameplay mechanic that's like
Yeah.
groundbreaking? Like, they just didn't have that moment. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't
I
know,
think this is
dude.
a game that it may like it's gonna be one of those that'd be cool on Game Pass. Like, yeah, I'm gonna try Avowed because it's on Game Pass. Like, I already pay for Game Pass. I'm gonna play it, and like big action or like RPG fans that like this kind of game are gonna play it. But it's not gonna bring somebody like me into play, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not gonna be like, wow, like I'm excited. Like, I'm gonna play this game, but it's just like you said, it didn't give you the hype. I had no hype from it either.
I had no hype, and like honestly, you guys know how much I love this like this action RPG set in medieval time. Like I eat this stuff up. I would play anything. I would play anything that had this style to it. And it's like if you don't hype me up on something like this, you're not hyping a lot of people up. You know?
Like I do with all of my previews. I read the comments and it's about kind of where we're at too. It's like some of the negativity, but to me, setting's cool. All right. I think that's really cool. The idea of the game is really cool. You know what I mean? Like I like it. It just doesn't seem like the execution is there.
I agree. I think they had a great idea. I think that they put a lot of time into this vibrance and this, colorful kind of atmosphere, and that I think they nailed. But I do think they just kind of let some of the core stuff go to the wayside, and because of that, I do feel like this is a game, like you said, if you have Game Pass, people are probably going to jump in, give it a try. But I just don't see it being super successful and like a game that's going to end up on like people's like top 20 games of all times like this. Like it's not. It's gonna be one that's played and forgotten.
Unfortunately. And like it's supposed to come out fall of 2024. So they have time to make some changes. And like most games should if they're listening to the fan feedback. Like what can we change to make it more people excited? What can we show them? So maybe we're just not seeing it yet with their showcase. Maybe they're gonna have another video. It's like, look at these epic bosses, and like I hope they do, because we never want to see a game fail, and I would like to see this game kind of turn around and bring more excitement to it. But as of right now, I kind of feel like it's kind of flat, and I wish it would go up.
I feel like it's kind of flatline too. So guys, you guys got a little bit of time here. Just listen to the fan feedback, make a couple corrections, and whoever did your first trailer, I would say maybe have them sit out on trailer number 2, and let's bring the energy, boys. Yeah, bring it.
And I want to be excited about this game. To be honest, I really like the setting. I like the feel of the setting. It's just the animations, the clunkiness of the game just isn't sitting.
So bring the hype, boys. Bring the hype on the next one, and yeah, and you might have a second chance to reel me in.